Welcome to Not Starving Artist, the podcast. I'm your host, Brooke Benson, money coach and equity actor. I am your financial cheerleader, here to help you build your financial confidence and have power over your money. The best part, no budgeting or bi-weekly paychecks required. I went from being a broke BFA grad having weekly panic attacks about money to a financially confident, wealth-building actor and business owner. Money gets to feel fun, simple, and sexy, and I am going to show you how. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. If you celebrate Christmas, I hope you had a wonderful Christmas day yesterday. I'm recording this beforehand, and I don't have my calendar up, but I think it falls on a Thursday, right? So this is going out the day after, if I have that correct. So today I want to talk about, now that we're like post that holiday, now we're in that weird liminal space between Christmas and New Year's, right? And I know a lot of us are not working right now, but even if you are working, there's like this weird energy in the air, or like weird kind of lax, what's the word I'm looking, like lethargic energy. Or you might be one of those people that like gets real lit for this time of year, and you're like New Year's resolutions and new habits, and like you start getting this like momentum ramped up for the new year. So we're in that space now. So as we are in that space, I want to talk about how to make, and I hesitate to even use the word New Year's resolutions, but habit changes, identity shifts. If you want to implement something new or make some shifts or set intentions for the new year, I want to talk about how to do those related to money and finances that will actually yield results, that you're actually going to be able to stick to, that are actually going to create change in your life and is not just a month in I've fallen off, right? Or like January and February hit it hard and then we're gone. Or you like do it for a month, you fall off, and then you like come back to it in April and then you fall off, right? Like none of that. This is slow, sustainable change that actually creates a different number in your bank account and creates a different experience for you around money inside of your body and inside of your brain. That the internal dialogue around finances and money has shifted for you, right? Which is, in my opinion, the most important thing, because that will inevitably yield different numbers in the bank account, in the retirement accounts, in the savings accounts, in the paychecks, right? In the amount you're spending. That will automatically yield that, okay? So when we are talking about, again, New Year's resolutions, goals you want to hit, intentions you want to set, when it comes to your money, and take this and apply it to any realm of life. I know fitness is a big one for the new year, but there's also like relationships and career, whatever. A lot of times we like to come in guns blazing, just swinging hard with like, I am going to have the bullet journal, like that's going to solve all my problems. I need to implement this new morning routine. I'm going to work out 5 times a week. I'm not just going to have one monthly CEO party. I'm going to look at my money every single week, and I'm going to check my bank accounts every single day. And I'm going to really put myself on a budget, and I'm really going to cut down on like, I'm only going to eat out once a week. And I'm really going to be intentional about every single dollar I spend, and I'm never going to overspend. And this is how I'm going to do it. Like, there's so much that you, in this energy of like excitement and like the planning of how you're going to create this perfect financial life or make all these huge strides. A lot of times that excitement comes from seeing like the speed in which you could achieve a goal, and seeing that speed, and like if I only have to like stick to this thing, if I'm able to like do this for this amount of time for 3 months, I'm going to be able to see 10,000 in the bank account. If I send out a job application every single day, or I post on Instagram every single day, and I do this, and this every single day or every single week, and I stick to that over and over and over, then I'm going to be able to see this much of income increase. I'm going to be able to have a 5K month, a 10K month, a 6-figure year, $1 million a year. Like, you're thinking about how this perfect plan that you have created will yield the specific result in a certain amount of time, and that specific result is the thing that you're really excited about, and you don't actually think about creating a process that you're excited about doing for the rest of your life regardless of the result. Stay with me here. So you're focused on the result, and it doesn't matter what the process looks like. because you're not focused on the process. You're only focused on that end goal. So you're going to like kill yourself, hurt yourself, right? Make yourself miserable until you hit that goal, because you think that goal is going to equal no more money anxiety. You think that goal is going to equal some sort of marker of success inside your body or to other people. You think that that end result is going to make you feel confident with your money because you've hit that thing. Or that, I know this specifically for income goals. I have a lot of clients who will strive for a certain income goal. And then once they hit that income goal, they're like, wait, I still don't feel like I have a lot of money. And it's because they equated hitting a certain income goal with never having to think about money again, with never having to make a financial decision again, with literally not having to think about finances. And the more money you make, the more you have to actually think about your finances. Now, there is freedom that comes with that, right? Like there is freedom in having more money and more wiggle room to play with, but it doesn't decrease the amount of decisions you have to make about it. You just get to make more fun decisions, but it's decisions nonetheless, right? So what we actually need to reverse engineer, and I know you all have heard this before, right, is actually focusing on those day-to-day things that process the enjoyment of the long-term sustainable life shifts that are going to inevitably hit those goals along the way. But the reason that we resist doing that, the reason that we prefer to create the perfect morning routine and the perfect workout schedule and the perfect budget and the restrictive debt payoff plan that's going to get us to save that amount in our retirement account or hit that income goal or be able to pay off the debt or lose the 20 pounds or, get the new job in like 3 months or less, like because we like that because our brains love the dopamine hit of one, doing something perfectly, being able to stick to something forever and ever, amen, or for that amount of time. There's like a 5K energy of like, I just gotta finish. Doesn't matter what happens in the middle, I just gotta finish, right? But like we get a dopamine hit out of creating the plan and thinking about how good it's gonna feel to do that plan perfectly and hit that goal, no matter what it feels like in the meantime, because once we hit that goal, all of our problems are going to be solved, right? There has never been a money goal that anyone has ever set that has forever and always solved their money problems. There's always going to be another money goal. There's always going to be another savings goal. There's always going to be another income goal. There's always going to be another retirement goal, right? And so trying to like fixate and focus on these specific monetary goals as the thing that's going to equal financial confidence, as the thing that's going to equal no more stress in my money, is the wrong way to go about it. I'm going to give you an example too. If you fixate on, I'm going to use $10,000 in a savings account, because for whatever reason, I have found that a lot of people, when they think about how much do I want in savings, I'll ask this on sales calls a lot when I'm like, what are your money goals, right? Or what do you desire out of working together? And they'll say, I want more in my savings. And I say, how much? And they'll say, well, $10,000 feels like a good number. And I'm like, why does $10,000 feel like a good number? And there's never a real strong why behind it. It's just like 10,000 feels good. 10,000 feels safe for savings, but again, there's no reason behind it. It's not. That's why I always say, like when I'm talking about saving, it's getting 3 months ahead on bills, and then it's your acting or creative career. What do you want to spend there? It's your travel fund. It's your vet, your pet. You got your dog fund, right? If you have an animal that needs to go get care all the time. You have your car maintenance fund. You have your moving fund for the new apartment you want to move into. It's very specific. That have very specific numbers that you can calculate and feel good at, not just like this $10,000 safety number, right? Okay, but if you set this $10,000 number and you're like, that would feel really good to have, and I'm gonna feel safe when I have that. When you hit that goal, you have to now maintain $10,000 in that savings account forever and ever, amen, to maintain feeling financially secure and financially confident. But the reason you wanted the $10,000 in your savings account is so that if something happened, you would have the money to cover yourself. But then when you use that money to cover yourself for whatever it is, even if it's not like a sad emergency, even if it's just, I got a DM from one of my past one-on-one clients recently that said she used her, that savings fund to pay for an extra, I think it was like 24 or 48 hours at a hotel that she was staying at in one of her favorite cities. She like wanted to extend that trip for herself. And that's what she used that savings fund for. And she was really happy about that. That's actually one of the things we worked on together inside of coaching, is allowing herself to use those savings, not just for emergencies, but for her to like enjoy time with herself, take herself out now that she has a baby, right? Like she was able to use that money for herself and for her fun, right? So that's something we worked on. Because if you set your financial confident identity in that number, when you use that money for the reason that you saved it for, you're going to automatically feel like you've done something wrong, or that you are now behind and now you have to get back there, right? I had another client who she had a savings goal of 100K, and she hit that goal. She was able to hit that goal, saved her 100K, but then she had a tax bill come in, and there was other things that then she needed to use that 100K to spend on. So now she didn't have that 100K in her savings account. So when we started working together, one of the things we were working on was like, you're not behind because you had to use that money. And let's not set a new like goal of how much you want to get into a savings account. Because what was happening is, in order to get that number in her savings, there was like some credit card debt, that like some investments that were going on a credit card, right? In order to be able to put more cash in the savings. There were other financial decisions that were being made to get that number in the savings, rather than how are you consistently managing your money so that automatically 6 figures end up in your savings account. And there's a difference there. And the reason that this is so important, I mean, there's a million reasons this is so important. And I keep saying like, this is the reason. Stay with me. One of the reasons that this is so important is because the moment you start to feel like, I put in all this work and for what? I did all of this. I went through this grueling process of putting myself on a budget and paying off this debt and like really hustling. And then I got the savings, or I paid off the debt, or I maxed out the retirement account. But now I had this thing happen. So what the fuck was even the point? And then you go into a downward spiral, right? Or you're like, oh my God, that was so hard. I have to do it again. And if you do this multiple times in a row, now you start to develop this energy around money where it's like, it's always something, or I'm never able to keep the money in the bank account. When at the end of the day, money was always meant to flow, right? Money was always meant to be spent and then come back to you, be spent and then come back to you. It was never meant to be a straight linear path upwards. There's always going to be contraction when money gets spent, right? I mean, if we literally look at the micro level, you have money in your bank account, and then the first of the month hits and you pay your rent or you pay your mortgage and your bank accounts contract. But then income comes in and they expand and then it contracts, right? And if you are a freelancer, a creative, a self-employed baddie, that contraction and expansion can look wildly different for people across the, like, over your entire year, right? It's not going to be that consistent contraction and expansion month after month after month. But if you look over the course of a quarter or over the course of a year, you should see that expansion, but it might not be at a consistent level, right? So when we attach our financial confidence and safety to a specific number in a specific account or a specific date that you want something to happen, right? Like a financial freedom, a FIRE number, right? You're financially independent, retire early, right? That just means that you have enough in your investments that you don't have to get paid by anyone else anymore because your investments are paying for your lifestyle. That's what FIRE is. I see a lot of people decide the age that they want to become FIRE, to hit their FIRE number. And then what happens is if they don't hit it by that number, or they like put all this energy into hitting that number, but like the age isn't actually anchored into anything except for like, that sounds nice, or that would be really nice. But then there's no additional questions of like, why is it that age? What do you think your life's going to look like post-FIRE? What do you want your life to look like post-FIRE? Can you start doing some of that stuff now instead of, there's a lot of stories out there of people who really like couponed and scrappy and listen, I love scrappy energy. We as creatives are very scrappy, but there's a scrappiness that like borders on like, ooh, is everyone okay? A scrappiness that then gets you to that FIRE number faster. And then there are stories of people who have hit this FIRE number and then they're like, wait, like I didn't really think through what would happen post that. And I like wish I would have enjoyed my life a little more again, while you're younger too, to be able to enjoy some of that. So all of this to say, what I want you to be thinking about when you're setting your financial intentions for the new year is, what do you actually want financially? And I'm going to give you a process here to actually figure out what that is, because sometimes there's a couple of layers between what we think we want and what we actually want, right? So the first thing I want you to do is, the fun thing with money is that a lot of it does have to do with numbers. Like when we want to make financial change, it's because we want to see different numbers somewhere, right? Paycheck, savings, checking, retirement, whatever. So first thing you're going to do is like the immediate numbers that come to mind. What are the goals you have for the new year, right? So if you're thinking about a savings goal, a debt payoff goal, a retirement goal, whatever, put that number down. If there's an income goal you want to hit, put that number down, whatever immediately comes to mind. The second thing you're gonna do is why that number and why that thing. Okay, so if it's a goal for a retirement contribution, like you want to max out your retirement account next year. And when I say max out, that just means that you are putting in the maximum amount that the IRS allows you to put into a retirement account for tax purposes. So for example, an IRA, an individual retirement account agreement, you'll hear it said both ways, that is $7,000 for 2025. Okay, so to max out an IRA is $7,000, is to put $7,000 in it. If you desire to max out an IRA in 2026, why? And I'm going to pause there for a second, because even when I just asked myself why, I've been maxing out my IRA, my Roth IRA for years now. And when I just said that question out loud, I was like, I haven't asked myself that question in a minute. So it's become so routine and habitual for me to do it. It's become a non-negotiable, which is what you want your financial habits to become and what they will become when you do this first work, right? Of getting clear on a very strong why and making it actually feel like something in your body. I did that work ages ago when I first started investing in my retirement account. But now because it's become so habitual and routine, and again, just a non-negotiable, of course I max out my IRA every year. When I asked that question out loud, I was like, wait, what is my answer? Because the first thing that came to my mind, okay, so I'm actually going to walk you through this process with this example, right, in my life. So the first thing is, like, what is a goal for 2026? If mine is to max out my IRA again, cool, that's going to be $7,000. I believe it's $7,000 for 2026. I don't think it's changed. But everyone can go Google that and look that up. So if that's my goal, cool. Now I'm going to ask myself why. Why do I want to have $7,000 in my account for 2026? First thing that comes up is like, well, because I should, right? Because that's good for me. That's honestly the first thing that comes to my brain, because I know that investing early and often is good for my future self. Now, when I say that out loud, again, that's the like routine habitual thing that goes through my brain. That's kind of the non-negotiable energy around it of just, yep, I want to retire at some point. I want to take care of my future self. I made that feel really juicy in my body years ago. And so I've just been doing it. And so I'm going to keep doing it. And that's my answer. But like right now, that doesn't feel like anything to me. Okay. So if I was feeling like I was going to struggle to invest, or I was feeling like lax around investing in retirement next year, or I started to feel like it's more negotiable this year, like, well, do I have to? I don't know. Maybe I don't one year. If I started to feel that, then I would go to my reasoning of like, well, I should, because it's good, because then I'll be able to retire and take care of my future self. Then I'm going to say, okay, that's not doing it for me. So I'm going to start picking apart why does this now start to feel negotiable based on my reasoning, right? Like come July, if I've only gone as deep as because it's good for me and because I want to take care of my future self without any other specifics or juicy feeling, in July, when like I haven't contributed, or I've only contributed like $2,000 to my IRA, and I'm like, okay, like, or I could go on a vacation and like I could like only contribute $3,000 and I could like go on a vacation. If I start to feel that energy, like there's nothing that's going to pull me into my I want to invest in retirement over let me just like spend it on a vacation. And this is also not saying that investing in retirement is inherently better than going on a vacation. Okay? So just if this is the first time you are listening to this podcast episode, I'm going to need you to go listen to a couple more episodes to know how we talk about that around here. This is just for this specific example that's coming to me as I record this, okay? So, what I'm going to do, cuz in July, it's not going to be enough for me to be like, it's responsible, do it, Brooke. That's not going to be enough. If I'm looking at a vacation in the face and I've done no work on why this is actually important to me, I've just said it's responsible and it's good and it's financially good for you to do. No. So what I'm going to do is, why does it feel like why do I care about being responsible? Why do I care about taking care of my future self? Okay. Now, this second layer of questioning is where you're going to start to get to the heart of some of that shit, right? So one of the things is like a big identity for me as an artist, which is I am never going to be a starving artist. I want to be fully autonomous in my creative career, because that is important to me as a creative, that I don't have to rely on anyone else to support me and to take care of me. Now, again, there's nuance here. That doesn't mean that accepting financial help is inherently bad. That's not what I'm saying, right? But for me, if I have the ability to support myself for when who knows what will happen in my later years, but for me, I want to make sure that I'm an autonomous artist, that I can not only support myself, but then be able to choose the kind of art that I want to do when I'm in my 50s and 60s. I mean, God hope that our industry continues to shift in the right direction, even though it's kind of backsliding right now. But like the roles that I want to accept when I'm in my 50s, 60s, 70s, and beyond, the kind of art I want to create, I want to be able to say no. I want to be able to say fuck yes, right? Even if it's a low paying project. Like that's the kind of shit that like, there's an intrinsic identity thing for me there as an artist, as a creative. So even as I'm saying that out loud, I'm starting to feel like in my heart, like, and that's why I hit submit trade when I put in my investments a couple of times a year, because I don't do it every single month. I don't do the same exact amount every single month, because our income fluctuates as creatives. So when I have higher months, I do a bigger load of putting money into my investments. And then there are some months where like income dips and then I don't put an investment in for that month. But over the course of the year, I max out my IRA, right? So when I do that a couple of times a year, that's why, because I want to have autonomy and choice in the future. That's already starting to feel like something, right? So that kind of feels like the big why. All right. And then, because I got to talk to that practical side of my brain, right? Of like, okay, so why is it responsible? Why is it a smart thing to do? Why do I feel like I want to invest $7,000 now instead of, $7,000 in my IRA next year, and then I'll make up for it and put another $7,000 into my solo 401k or into my brokerage account, which are different kinds of investment accounts. And why I'm going to talk to the practical side, right? It's like, okay, if I run the math, investing $7,000 this year is going to create more money for me in the future than investing $14,000 next year, right? Even though you think those would be the same, a year of compound interest, when I put into a compound interest calculator, that's going to yield me more money. And so I can talk to the practical side of my brain of like, look at the number that shows up in that investor.gov calculator of if $7,000, okay, wait, I'm going to pause this recording because I'm going to pull up the numbers. Okay, I just went to investor.gov and I put in these numbers so we can talk about them. Also, if you haven't run numbers for fun on investor.gov's compound interest calculator, time to go do it. The amount of clients that I have done this with, where like they've talked about their retirement and their accounts and they've like been doing this for a while, and then they start to feel a little anxious about how much they're contributing. And I'm like, when was the last time you ran these numbers? And they're like, oh yeah, I don't know if I've ever, or like I did it a couple of years ago, but we run them together and they're like, holy shit, right? And it's like, yeah, like the math can be so validating, especially with investments, because it's hard to believe that your money will grow without you. And that just a little bit of money can create so much money if you give it enough time. So like, this math, it tickles, the delicious parts of my brain of like, look at all my money going to work for me and I don't have to, and look at how much money it's going to make me, okay? So this is already making me feel like logistically excited to see literally free money getting accumulated in my account by contributing to my Roth IRA. So when I go to investor.gov, it's telling me initial investment, so $7,000 this year that I put in. I contribute nothing to it. And if I leave it in for 30 years, okay, with an interest rate of 10%, which is like the average amount that you will see a return over the course of time, like not 10% every year, over the course of time, and it compounds annually, that number is going to grow to $122,000. Now, I want you to remember, and this is just me going on an investment rant here for a second, $122,000 is what I will have from just investing $7,000. So that means that $7,000 will grow, give me an additional $115,000 when I'm 60 years old. That little $7,000. $115,000 for me doing nothing. For me deciding to invest $7,000 this year. And I think about myself at 60 years old, looking back at my 30-year-old self now and being like, baby girl, I'm so glad you did that. I'm so proud of you because look at the life we get to live. Look at the art we get to do. Look at how much non-stress we have. I just watched my mom retire this year too. And like, being retired, it does not mean that you are doing nothing. Like, everyone's retirement gets to look exactly how they want it to look. Retirement just means you no longer have to get income from someone else. That doesn't mean you're now sat in your lazy boy watching NASCAR. That's not it. Like, I watched my mom retire. She is now busier than she ever was when she had a job. It is harder for me to get in contact with her now than it was when she was working. She is living her best life. She is doing so many things. So, like, when I think about my future self, she is living. She is doing projects. She is traveling. She is hanging out with her friends. And the amount of non-stress that I envision her having from that, like, my mom does not go to sleep thinking about anything. She goes to sleep with a clear brain. Like, when she was telling Brady and I that over Thanksgiving, we were both like, what a concept. What a concept. Incredible. So me investing now is going to give that future self another 100K plus to vibe. That's an extra year of retirement life for her. That's a year of not having to work. Or not having to rely on anyone else for money. That's what that is. Me investing $7,000 this year is giving her a year of not having to worry about anything. Do you see how that's now? See, now I'm feeling excited. Now I'm feeling excited. So then I'm going to go to the thought of like, well, I'll just do $14,000 next year. Well, if I wait a year, so if I'm going to let this $7,000 grow for 30 years, if I bump it back 1 year and I only let it grow for 29 years, so I'm still going to be over the 100K mark, but it's going to be $111,000, right? So me waiting a year is actually going to cost me, what was the number I had? It was like $11,100 is what this math ended up being. So if I wait 1 year, there's like a cost of waiting, which is $11,000. Now, I also want to pause here. Me knowing that math, it can go either way, where I'm like, you know what, actually this year that $7,000 is going to benefit me so much more in X, Y, and Z realms. If there's an investment I really want to make, like if I really want to go all in on something and I need that $7,000 cash, like if something like that happened and I'm like, you know what, $11,000, if I do contribute $14,000 next year, I'm okay, like sinking that $10,000 of perceived gain. If I'm going to take that away, I'm okay taking that hit because I know that money now is actually going to mean more to me than having $11,000 when I'm 60. So it can go both ways. For me right now, I don't foresee that being the case. Like right now, it's actually way more exciting for that extra $10,000 to be there in 60 years than it is right now in my life. Okay. So I also want you to show you that like when you do the math, it can actually help you make more accurate decisions. Because sometimes you might just be freaking out. If you only go so far as like, well, I have to invest $7,000 in my IRA. And then you feel anxious because you're feeling like you're really like scraping by this year because you have to put the whole amount into your IRA because that's what you've decided, when you really are like actually missing out on something now because you don't have the money afforded to you to be able to increase a part of your career that could yield even greater amounts of money in 2 years that would allow you to double the amount that you would invest in the future. Like the math gets to support you in your decision making, okay? Whatever that decision is. So I just want to illustrate that going in and doing the math does not mean that you're like doing the math to push you into a certain decision, okay? But right now in this illustration, I'm doing this math to help create excitement for putting that $7,000 into my IRA, okay? So now I'm feeling juicy enough. And I know like if I was feeling lackadaisical about it this year, come July, like this juicy feeling that I've locked in is going to help support me when I'm like hitting a crossroads, when I'm having to choose between this goal I set and this thing that's right in front of my face that I really want or like might feel urgent about, okay? So once you have that, you can also ask yourself like another line of questioning of like, and why is that important to me? To get some like, if you're not feeling it in the gut yet or in the heart, another line of questioning might behoove you, okay? So I want to go back to like the initial goals. So if you say like, I want $10,000 in the bank account, why 10,000? What is that going to get you? I want to make a 6-figure year this year. Why 6 figures? When you make 6 figures, so if you own a business, you make 6 figures. Okay, well, how much of that is actually in your pocket? And then the amount that is actually in your pocket, what is that going to get spent on? How is that actually going to affect your current life? Right? Because also that's going to have you spending money differently throughout your year, especially in your business. But it's also going to ground that 6-figure number into reality. Or maybe you're like, no, actually the real goal is 120, right? Because when I actually break it up of what gets in my pocket, post taxes, post investments, post like just month to month upkeep costs of my business, or like you're an actor, you have specific things you need to spend on throughout the year, your agent fees, right? How many gigs do you want to book? You break it all down. What's in my pocket? And why? That's going to help drum up excitement. For debt payoff, it's like if you've created this debt payoff timeline, why is it that timeline? Is it because you want to rush to get to that feeling and jump through having to pay it off so you try and shorten the timeline as fast as possible? Is that why? Or like, why is it that timeline? Why that amount of time? Besides, I just want it done. That's not a good enough reason, okay? So you have to ask yourself why, and you might have to ask yourself why a couple of different times. So now that you've got to the real heart of it, now this is where I want you to lock it in. You're feeling juicy. You've got clear on this why, right? Now, my favorite thing to do is create a voice memo. So I'll record to myself while I'm in this juicy feeling of like, here's why we're investing that money, girl. Here's the math I got, right? Remember, 115,000 from doing nothing. Go enjoy that money. Guess what? This is your 6-year-old retired self calling. And guess what she's going to do with that 1 year of retired life that you have given her? Here's exactly what we're going to do, right? Or here's all the options of what we could do. And guess what? You as an artist, here's why this is important. How baller that you get to max out a retirement account and you've been doing so for X amount of years as a freaking creative and you never thought you would have been able to do that before. And guess what? Your parents never have to worry about you and your finances because you've got your shit on lock because you are maxing out a retirement account. Like whatever those things are, lock it into a voice note. So when you start to feel like you're at a crossroads, you're losing steam, you hit that February slump, listen back and you can hear your own voice hyping yourself up, okay? Affirm yourself. The other thing you can do, you can journal about it. If you're a visual person, you can like print pictures out and do quotes like that mean something to you and like have it somewhere for you that you can be looking at it, okay? So that's how you're going to set goals this year. You can have a number. You can have a number or a specific timeline, but it needs to actually mean something and feel like something. And through the course of this, you might decide that like you still want that goal, but the number's shifted. So it might not be 5K months. It might be 7.5K months, right? It might not be $10,000 in the 3 months ahead on bills bucket. You might realize that it's actually $12,000 because you need $4,000 a month to be able to support yourself month to month to month, right? So it's actually a $12,000 number. So like do the math to make the numbers mean something to you. And then get it in the heart, get it in the gut, wherever you have your big feelers, right? Or maybe you're someone who like feels it all in your brain space or your eyeballs. I don't know. I feel all mine in my gut. So that's how you're going to set goals this year, all right? And if you want support on all of this, you want help not only creating your goals, but then sticking to them and an extra layer of accountability, join Cashed Up Creatives. And do it now because I'm hosting live free bonus monthly office hours through June of 2026. I was initially going to end them at the end of this year, but I've decided to extend them for another 6 months, right? So you're going to have a monthly group coaching call with me every single month until June. So you can set these intentions. We can even do it together in January, right? When we have our next office hours call is January 20th. So you just have to submit your coaching request by January 19th at 12 p.m. So if you join Cashed Up Creatives before that time, you can submit your coaching request and you can come get coached in office hours. We can work on those goals, set them together, or you can bring the work you've done from this podcast episode to that call. Using all the stuff you've been learning in the video portal, we're going to start personalizing it and making it work for you. And then in February, you get to come back and tell me your progress, tell me your wins, or tell me where you got stuck. And then we're going to course correct and figure out what you need to do for the next month for March. And then we're going to do the same thing, March, and then April, and then May, and then June. That's so much time for you to make so much progress in the first 6 months of the year. So you can find the link of how to join. It's $247 one-time payment. You get lifetime access to that video portal and those free monthly office hours through June of 2026. The link is in the show notes for you to join there. Enjoy setting these intentions, setting these goals, and I can't wait to see you inside of Cashed Up Creatives. Thanks so much for tuning in. Come join me on Instagram for more on how to build a simple, sexy relationship with your money. My Instagram handle is @NotStarvingArtists. And if you want to dive deeper with me, head to the show notes to learn more about one-on-one coaching. If you love this episode, subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a friend that you want to get rich with.